Hello, we're going to talk about vocalic fillers, pauses and hesitation phenomena today. We will cover a couple of articles, the first one connected to Spanish. These authors say that spontaneous speech is characterized by improvisation, which includes false starts, self-corrections, repetitions, vocalic fillers, and pauses, which are considered disfluencies, that is, alterations in the fluency of the discourse. There are many studies connected to this topic. Some time ago, these disfluencies were considered elements that were not important, but today they are considered elements that are communicative. That's why we need to pay attention to them. Among the hesitation phenomena, pauses have been the most studied. In these different studies, there is one similarity, which is probably the distinction between filled pauses and empty pauses. So this is one characterization of pauses, filled pauses and empty pauses. Filled pauses would be interruptions in speech flow by non-lexical sounds such as These filled pauses have multiple functions which are not exclusive, which are connected to management of the interaction, how you manage the interaction, and sometimes with cognitive processes connected to moments when you are planning how you say something, or even when you are thinking about a word that you cannot retrieve. On the other hand, empty pauses are silences, periods of silence. Another division of pauses is juncture pauses or fluent pauses and non-juncture or hesitation pauses. The first kind would mark the boundaries between syntactic units such as the phrase, the clause, and the sentence, whereas non-juncture pauses occur within syntactic units, that is, in any place, and not necessarily at boundaries of clauses. There are many studies connected to vocalic fillers, and they generally focus on the causes why people use them and the effect on listeners. That is, how listeners react to these, the use of vocalic fillers. So as regards the causes why people use vocalic fillers, people use them when they need time to find an expression or a way to express a particular idea. For example, you say, what was his name? And his name was, that would be a vocalic filler. This constitutes an interactional tactic that has two purposes that can be seen as contrastive purposes, because sometimes you want to hold the floor, and sometimes you suggest, there will be a way of suggesting someone to complete your turn. What has also been studied, as we said before, is the effect on listeners. That is, how listeners process this, especially in conversations between natives and non-native speakers. Also, other studies focus on which fillers are preferred and if they have different functions. And all other studies focus on the frequency of appearance of a particular filler and how they are distributed in the speech chain. Let's see what happens in Spanish. In Spanish, we call this vocal de relleno. The most common one would be but these vocalic fillers vary according to the language, and the vowel we produce might not necessarily be the one in the repertoire of the language, right? So it might not sound the same as the Spanish E in bebé. It might have a different quality. There are variations that not only across languages, but also among speakers, right? And also the pitch varies when you use them. In general, what is said is that what is common among all the languages is that the vowel that is chosen does not demand many movements of the tongue and the lips, so it demands minimal movement. So they are generally sounds that are as neutral as possible, such as the schwa, for example. Something also used in these situations is that you can lengthen a vowel. And also consonants such as and can be lengthened. Apparently, according to this author, E and are the only phonemes that can constitute sonorous pauses, because they can be inserted anywhere, whether deriving from a word, such as in the example I gave you, what's his name, or in isolation, that is to say, and his name was, or his name is, To add some variety to that topic, we're going to mention some ideas from this article, which I find particularly interesting because it has to do with second language production. That is the use of pauses and hesitation phenomena when you are talking a language that is not your mother tongue. And the research questions, that is the questions this author wanted to ask, was the type of pauses that are generally used in second language speech, what function they have, and if there is a connection between the use of a particular kind of pause and your level of proficiency. This study was conducted in Spain, and it was done among university students. And what they found was that 64% of the pauses used by Spanish speakers were silent pauses, and that was the most common filler used. Another interesting finding was that they found 3 types of pauses: lexical pauses, morphological pauses, and planning pauses. Let's see this example. In this case, a Spanish speaker speaking in English says, he gets up and he dresses. Apparently, what we can see here is that the student finds it difficult to remember how to say getting dressed. So he uses a filled pause. Remember, we talked before about filled pauses and empty pauses. This is a filled pause that gives the student time to think about the word he or she needs. This is the percentage of lexical pauses found in the study among students of English, native Spanish speakers. Let's see another example. The dog finds this shows that there is a silence and how long it takes. So this is considered to be a morphological pause. The student stops because he or she notices that she or he has made a mistake and corrects himself or herself. So it's different from this one, in which there was difficulty in retrieving a word, right? And planning pauses, which were the most common. The example says the boy goes to the window and then screams. So the pause is a filled pause that helps the student plan the rest of the idea he or she wants to express. So if we analyze the results, they found that silent and filled pauses fulfill the same function, so they are used in similar situations. But that there are more silent pauses that could be classified as lexical pauses, that is used when students need time to retrieve phrases, a particular vocabulary. That there are more filled pauses that can be classified as planning pauses. And according to the level of proficiency, that was another of the research questions, that is, if there was a correspondence between, let's say that beginners use some kinds of pauses and I don't know, advanced students use other kinds. What they found was that advanced students used more filled pauses and low proficiency students use more silent pauses. How these results, or what these results show. What they show is that non-gender pauses and hesitation are very frequent in second language speech. This implies that learners have planning and execution problems, and they show this through these hesitation phenomena. That there are also differences between students. That means that people have different pausal behaviors. They also found that the silent pauses co-occur with other kinds of hesitation phenomena. That is, that when there is a silent pause, there is also self-correction, repetition, or reformulation. But that in general, filled pauses do not co-occur with other hesitation phenomena. This seems to indicate that filled pauses are used as repair devices, right? While silent pauses tend to precede other self-repair devices. So what they conclude is that apparently when learners have facing planning or execution problems, a silent pause is not enough, and they need to verbalize something. There is no correlation between the kind of pause and the level of proficiency of the students, although what was found is that proficiency students are more varied in their techniques. So it is important to bear in mind that hesitation phenomena is communicative. They are used for a purpose, and that learners, second language learners, need to learn how to be silent and also how to handle these hesitation phenomena as part of their pragmatic and strategic competence. Let's go to the second video of this week.